Many of you have seen this drawing before. I don't really have any way to convey, as always, that this is just so amazing. I find myself not even wanting to describe how amazing it is, because it's oftentimes so amazing to me, if that makes any sense to you. I am happy in my amazement of all of the amazing things I've been able to see and understand. I couldn't be more happier. It only reaffirms my faith in the truth and the goodness of this world, that brotherhood, true friendship, honesty, integrity, loyalty, and love for one another are the greatest things that you could possibly try to have as your possessions, your treasures. I fully believe in that, and even though I'm unable to continually myself live like that, I'm not a perfect person. I don't believe in the perfect person doctrine that some people say that when you take Jesus as your Savior and you're born again at that moment, you're sinless. Well, that's a misinterpretation. You're getting grossly wrong right there. It's not that they're sinless, but it is that any sins committed are already pre-forgiven. And they're forgiven on the grounds that deception has already taken place on this world, and you're born into a world of sin. Not you yourself are born as a sinner, as many people would misinterpret. But you are born into a world that's been built upon the ideologies of sin. So there are no perfect people. They're still committing sins in relative fashion to what a sin really is, because there's higher, lower, and lesser meanings. The fullness of where the name, the title, the definition, sin, what it's related to, comes from is ancient Babylon. It is relative to the moon deity. And at the time that I drew this, I knew none of it. I knew none of that. But somehow I actually drew 4 perfect horns that clarifies the symbolism for that deity, that he's supposed to have 4 horns. Well, there is a little 5th short one, it looks like, up here, but I think for me, all of it together, just it is what it is. Okay, so the people that follow sin are the true sinners, and that's kind of what you if you want to get past all the deception and the confusion, and you want to understand what all this is about, what it's going to hinge on, what the flip of this switch is, and what the strong delusion is going to be all about, and how are they going to get so many people to turn from Christianity that are already in it. How are they going to get so many people to reject Jesus Christ? Well, it all comes down to this very in-depth understanding of who the sinners are. And you always, as I tell you this, have to maintain and remember that Jesus Christ sees everybody equally the same. That the sun is going to shine on sinners as well as the righteous. That the rain is going to fall for the sinners as well as the righteous. God is no respecter of persons. He is a friend of publicans and sinners as well as the righteous. And all of this is written. All of this is true. So you can't put into perspective of who's going to be destroyed as a sinner when I tell you who these sinners are as it having anything to do with Jesus Christ or his proclamations. That's just simply not true. It's certainly clarified that the wages of sin is death. Sin is paying these wages. Well, now you know who sin is, and you know what the death that sin plans to bring. And it's associated with what we see here as this missile, and it's heading for this symbolism of USA, of which they're considering them the sinners, and they're doing it against themselves. It's a higher portion of the U.S., which is what we're calling Ephraim, the leader, who is taking out a portion of his own territory. So you're going to find this as we read chapter 28, woe to the crown of pride, to the drunkards of Ephraim. All right, the drunkards of Ephraim. So Ephraim basically has created a nation of slothful-minded, gluttonous, drunken, pill-dependent, TV-obsessive, materially-minded citizens. And they believe they have the right to destroy them all because of that. But in reality, it's Ephraim's plan from the get-go to create a nation like that. To create a nation to where they could build the military might, but destroy the integrity of the common citizen from within. And to pull from the common citizenry the higher minds to initiate them into their agenda through the secret societies, political groups, affiliations, what have you. And then, of course, to pool the numbers for the military that they would need to basically guarantee that they could survive the act that they were going to commit and then regain control once this had begun to take place after the second cup. They plan on retaking control, and it's right, it's all right here in the scriptures. So there's a part of the subversive government that wants you to believe that there's like a higher group that's against a lower group, and the higher group is going to destroy the lower group. But what you need to absolutely understand is that they are both working together. They're both working together. All of the pointed fingers are coming down on religion right now, if you haven't noticed. And when really we know who the true wicked antagonists, creators of all of this illusion are on this world, in the material world. And it's based upon these secret societies that are founded upon ritualistic religions. They are the creators of religions. If you remember, Jesus Christ rejected the religious establishment of the day. Now, he didn't reject religion because religion is what every man makes it. It's not that the religion makes the man. It's the man that makes the religion. You can have two Christians both within Christianity, but one Christian can be upright and then the other Christian can just be basically downright rude, crude, and unbrotherly. And I've seen many of them. So it's not the religion that makes the man, it's the man that makes the religion, or the woman that makes the religion. And when I say man, I mean mankind, which is the entirety of the whole. I hope everybody understands that. So I'm going to get to something here, which I guess the title of this video is talking about, and about this METEOR of Russia here. Talk about something real quick. But what I'm trying to say is who these sinners are. And what's happened is that pagan belief systems, rituals, religious philosophy has been ingrained and encoded into Christianity. Now, we can take the common holidays that are supposed to be associated with Jesus Christ in various events of his life. Christmas, Easter. Neither one has anything to do with Jesus. Neither one. But because they have so many people that are supposedly Christians believing, and then all these people within the United States blindly follow the customs and traditions that they're born into, and the majority of the people don't really look at it, while we see the truth movement is trying to expose it, but they're trying to expose it in the wrong light. They're trying to fulfill it that, yeah, these people of America, because they're doing all this, they're stupid, they're undesirable, they should all be killed. Well, wait a minute. What in the heck are you talking about? They were led into this way of life. This is not the common people's creation. This is the political creation. The environment that we live in is a political reality. It's not a civil reality. It's not a brotherly reality. It's a politically controlled, materially forced reality that we live in. That's not the common people. So you can't blame the common people. You can't fall to the lies that all these people are trying to do by saying that religion is bad, that the people within it are somehow found at fault because the leaders that have created it distorted it and used it as the vehicle for propaganda. They've done all this. The people that are the smaller common peoples within this religions, they're only looking for the truth. And they are only doing what any person born into a system where you have a system already in place that is providing services, needs, educational system, everything that we think about concerning a society is already in place. So you go within that educational system, within that society that's already placed, within those institutions, and you begin searching for the truth, whether they be religious or educational institutions. So the people aren't at fault. They are looking for the truth with what is already manifested around them. They can't be held at fault for that. But those that try to deceive them with the illusion of what the truth is are the ones that are truly accountable. So think about all these people that are commenting left and right, and I see it all the time. They think they're speaking in code, and it really ain't no code. They're talking about, marshmallow pies and all this stuff about cats that you see, and all the stuff that you see about rabbits on people's coded videos and stuff, where got their little videos with rabbits or cats. They're all fulfilling themselves in the identities that I'm already speaking about. And they're in a way wanting me to know about this. And you should check the comments and how they speak and what they're talking about. They're prideful. They're egotistical. They think that they're better than everybody. They think because their secrets and their codes and what is coming is supposed to be so glorious and great, and that they're secretly a part of it, or at least they think they do, because many of them, they're going to go down with the rest of the people. Many of them that think they're going to be taken up or protected, they don't realize what's really happening here. There's only but so many rooks, and then you got the pawns. The pawns are expendable, but yet the pawns are used all the way up until the point until you get the king, queen to the other side. And then usually there ain't too many pawns left standing, if you get my drift. So there's a lot of pawns out there that are speaking high and mighty and all giddy on themselves, and they don't even realize that to the rest of us that have at least a speck of maturity about us as it pertains to eternity, because we're obviously going to mature a lot more. Okay, I know I will. I know I need to, and I want to. These people are just, they're so foolish. They're so foolish. So they've tried to encode into Christianity these pagan religions. Well, you need to know now that Christianity did not encode them into itself. You need to start thinking about the Emperor Constantine, and he's the one that pushes Easter into Christian philosophy at that time. Okay? He's the one that does this. Rome does this. Rome as in the connection to the eagle, as in the connection to Ephraim, as in the connection to the shepherd of Israel, of false Israel, as we see the descendancy of Ephraim and Manasseh is from Egypt. And then, of course, we know that the Romans revered Egypt for all of its knowledge and its architecture. So you guys got to be a lot more realistic in your view of the truth. You've got to be more balanced in your approach to understanding, or you're going to get tossed. You're going to get tossed upon these stormy seas, and you might fall overboard. Some of you are on the boat now, but it does not mean that you're going to stay on the boat. And by the Scripture's own words, many people are going to jump from the boat willingly. And the strong delusion's already taken over. I'm 100% for Jesus Christ. I will never have a problem saying those words out my mouth. But I know in the days to come that many people are going to begin to change their tune. It's that I'm not affected by the name game. I'm not affected by the doctrine. I'm not affected by any distortion of history. I understand why the Library of Alexandria and its works were a portion of them destroyed and the others are kept secret from us. I understand what Desert Storm's job was to do during Bush's presidency when they went into all the museums in ancient Babylon, aka nowadays Iraq. And they went into all those museums and they did what? They looted all of those Sumerian, Mesopotamian, Anunnaki archaeological artifacts. Why'd they do that, guys? Because they could not have anybody finding out the truth. Because within these archaeological artifacts was the truth that these beings were the fallen one. It was the truth that the identity of Anu, Enlil, and Enki were Lucifer, Satan, and the devil. Not outrightly, but within the exact definitional description, the particular authorities between these three beings, everything that relates to Anu eventually not being heard from that much in the beginning he is, and then he just basically drifts off into the back, and then the next one that drifts off into the back is Enlil, and then the only one that's remaining is Enki, and then that's because he's the fallen prince of this world. And of course Enki's the one that orders the digging out of the Apsu. And so they literally dig out the inner earth themselves. And if you don't know it, they dug out the Tigris and the Euphrates too. This was before the rebellion with the digging of the Tigris and the Euphrates. But after the rebellion, they returned to the work of their digging was to build the inner earth refuge, their Zion, that they could dwell in while they were sealed. So Anu drifts off into the background because Anu is Lucifer. Guess what? Anu gets bound. That's right. Anu, being Lucifer, and Enlil, being Satan, are bound. And they're bound off-world on what would be known as a detainment world, an immense sphere, because all of this is done with worlds. We're on a world now, just like there was a planetary prince on this world that was spiritual, that ruled over this world, that fell. That means spirit beings inhabit material spheres, plain and simple. Within the material is the spirit. It's the inner man. There's an inner man, there's an inner prince, there's an inner spirit authority that's involved in every single world that is evolving towards inhabitation of conscious life. And then they're given a planetary prince. Ours happened to rebel. So because we have a sphere that has a spiritual prince on it, we can understand that there are other spheres that have been created to maintain these divergent spirit personalities until judgment time comes, until they're arraigned righteously and justly. And Lucifer, Anu, that is why you see him fade from the scene in the ancient Sumerian mythos, as he's even related in the ancient Babylonian mythos. And it's because he's bound. He's not there anymore. He's not under his own power. He's being held somewhere. Therefore, the the stories that turn into the myths about him, they fade away. And then the only one that's left here eventually is Enki, who is bound, and so bound on this world because he's the prince of this world. He's bound to the crimes that he's committed on it. Lucifer and Satan, they commit crimes over other portions of the system solars. And you can find that in the book of Job, and in other portions of the Bible. You're going to hear that Satan has gone to and fro of the stones of fire. That means the stones of fire, the suns, the many other solar systems that are out there that have central suns. So Satan is the false prophet because he's gone to the many planetary systems to corrupt other inhabited worlds, of which there are 37 in number. So my point is, wow, as I try to say something so simple, it all just always comes out into so much more. I almost forgot my train of thought here. Let me think for a moment what I was trying to say about them being bound. Oh, so because they're gonna, man, I'm just trying to tell you guys that they are gonna flip the switch so hardcore. They're already trying to create the Trinity as being an absolute evil faction of a Trinity being evil. Trinity's not evil. Think about a single cell. A single cell is a Trinity. Jesus Christ is the creator of all creation, of which biologic creation springs from singular cells. The multiplication of cellular creation. So these cells are a trinity. They're both chemical, electrical, and biological. Three things united as one thing, from micro to macro. So a biological cellular trinity in the physical, a trinity starts. And then you equate that all the way up to the highest reflection, to the heights of the spiritual abode. And there you have the origination for that reflection into the material world of the Trinity, the Supreme Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Infinite Spirit. There is a triune faction of personality. It's not that God is actually three separate identities. God is three identities as one. But these three personality manifestations of the Father are because he has different portions of creation that he must interassociate with, and because those portions of creation are not at a relative perfection of spiritual understanding. They're not all on the same plane of spiritual sight. Therefore, the Father must fragment his personality as three separate identities to make the approach to all forms of creation: animal, mineral, and vegetable. That's right. And when we talk about the Holy Ghost, aka the Infinite Spirit, this is for all of you people out there who have turned to the occultic practices because you understand an understanding about a feminine quality of spirit. And when I say the sacred feminine, I'm talking about a plan that they knew that they had to do to corrupt the DNA in man to create an Elite race so that they could get these people to do the work to break the seal. Now that is evil propaganda. That's an evil agenda. But I'm not telling you that feminine spirituality is a negative thing. Absolutely not. But what I am telling you is that this knowledge is already in place with the fallen ones before they fell. They understand what the feminine quality of spirit is. And this is why you hear it being equated with the earth being called Mother Earth. And this Mother Spirit that we are talking about is the Infinite Spirit. The Infinite Spirit, the Holy Ghost, is the true identity, the Father, the Infinite Spirit, the Eternal Son. The three as one. And they are. They're not separate. It's the fullness of the identity of the perfection of the totalic image of God in the wisdom of this supreme being of all has designated himself as three separate, approachable personality manifestations to all of creation. And of course, we know that the eternal Son fulfills himself within the biological. Now, the infinite Spirit fulfills itself within the chemical, which is why we're going to have its connection to Mother Earth, because life on Mother Earth started from chemical reactions. But it goes much deeper than that. And then we know that the Father himself represents light, more importantly, light energy. So we have, and then of course you know that the Son himself, the biological Son, represents water. And then man himself is 70% plus water. Biology is 70% plus water. Some a little more, some a little less. But without water, no matter can be animated, and without light, no matter can be projected. So the Trinity faction of the reality of even the forms of creation are reflective of the higher identity of the Trinity identity of the Supreme Being. The fallen ones corrupted the identity of the infinite Spirit, and this is where you get the agenda of the real society as they tout this real energy. What they're really doing is they are confusing, bastardizing the understanding of the infinite Spirit as a feminine quality, as a mothering feminine quality. And they have corrupted so much of the truth. And this is why they begin to see this energy real even as non-personal. Well, the infinite Spirit is very personal. That's one thing that they've done. That's one thing that a lot of these power seekers, these vain, prideful, egotistical, vanity, spiritual power seekers have done within their bastard versions of spiritual truth. They have taken away the personality presence of the interrelationship of mankind with the Supreme Being, and the many manifestations of the Supreme Being's identity as it tries to make its approach to all forms of creation, not just mankind. But you have to realize the identity of the earth itself is even a living thing. It is reacting to its environment. Anything that can react to its environment is within the quality of life. The conditional environment itself is based upon an interassociation of complex chemical, biological, and electrical identities. Those interassociations, what happens between them is called life. And the Supreme Being, which has created this equational manifestation, this potential for material reality to achieve a spiritual identity, has put the wisdom in these inner parts for all of this to be that way. So don't let them confuse you with any BS. Don't let them do it. Know that the Father is the fullness of love and caring for all, but yet he has wisdom also, and he's not going to depart from his way because you don't understand why things are the way that they are, and he's just going to begin to start changing things for you. The Father's way is to bring you and those that want to seek perfection. His way is perfectly able to do that, and he's not going to change what's already perfect. But what he is going to change is what's not already perfect, and that's going to be us. And it has to be by your will, accepting his way, and as long as you walk it, you're one step closer every day to that perfection. That's the truth of it. Now, I'm not exactly sure. This is all just, I was going to talk about the meteor over Russia as it concerns this drawing, but obviously, I think many of us were meant to hear, even myself, those words. Just know, guys, that they have encoded into Christianity itself to make the Christians in these end times look like the sinners, look like the fools, and then they're going to justify this by imposing their wrath upon them and getting everybody to turn upon them. And then at the same time, they're going to, because the Christians are looking like fools, they're going to try to make the Christian God, Jesus Christ, be the supreme fool of them all, and try to make him look as the Antichrist now, to make this Inky look as the real benefactor of mankind. As you'll see, it's already coded into the ancient mythologies. But remember, these are mythos. These ancient tablets have already been under deception by the time they're being stamped and recorded in the clay. Before the clay is even dried on these things, they're being stamped with the authorities of deception. Because the Sumerians did not live with the Anunnaki. Whether you guys realize this or not, the Anunnaki are legendary gods that the Sumerians themselves have knowledge of, and they have at this time the remaining history that is recorded, or that is recorded by man. They're the ones that are possessing this ancient history. It's come down to them, and so they record and leave behind the legends and even oral, as well as the few written traditions that had survived, and began to compose the mythos with their surviving scribes, their surviving priests that were already under deception. And then they had written the deception into these tablets. It's already there. So when you read the tablets, that Inky's the one that didn't want to flood the earth to destroy mankind, and then that Enlil was the one that wanted to flood the earth to destroy mankind. First thing you need to understand is that there was never no global flood. There was a global flood before mankind had evolved on the earth as the present status of material, mortal-looking being that he is in his physical identity. The earth was flooded in the billion-year ancient past, but it wasn't necessarily flooded. It was more flooded by a catastrophe. It was more flooded by geological, evolutionary, natural conditions that were taking place over millions of years. Not a single 40 days and 40 night rain. That's a mathematical impossibility, and you should all know that. But there's many that will spit and sling and gunsling the truth so hard, and to make it appear like it's just absolutely the word of God, when it's not. God does what? He loves sinners as well as righteous. What did Jesus say? He said, I come for the lost sheep. How can you come for the lost sheep if you're going to destroy them? That's not the way that it is. If all sins have already been forgiven, and they have, and I've already showed it in the Old Testament, all souls are his. So there never was a flood of the entirety of the world that was connected to the story of Noah's Ark. There was a flood that was local in the region of Mesopotamia, where Noah, who has another Sumerian name, in his local region, valley, and Noah was a fisherman. He knew the waters, he knew the signs, he knew the tides, and he knew what to expect. And he did tell them there was a great flood coming. And he did build a boat, and he did put some animals on it. But it wasn't the flood that flooded the entirety of the world. That was a concoction by the later Hebrew scribes that needed a way. And when I say later Hebrew scribes, I'm not talking about the Hebrew scribes of 4,000 and 5,000 years ago. You don't understand the identity of these Hebrews. They go back some 35,000 years. That's right. They go back to the beginning portion of the start date for the Garden of Eden, which I told you is 36,288 BC. So when I'm saying the earlier, meaning when I said later Hebrew scribes, we're talking those of the way back, not these ones of 4,000 and 5,000 years ago. Okay, they began to manipulate and edit the content of the scriptural histories, and then that continues all the way down towards the modern Jews, or at least the Old Testament Jews that we see of prior 2,000 years, within about another circa 3,000 year period going back. I would say when the Jews are captive in Babylon, there's a mass editing of the Bible that takes place also. And this is where they begin to connect the genealogies, to simplify the genealogies between Adam to Abraham, and then from Abraham eventually all the way to Jesus. And they needed a way to solidify their lineage. And this is why we see the two lineages of Enoch show up. And the line of Seth is true. The line of Seth is real. But there are two divergent factions. One is abandoned and not followed any longer. And that's the lineage that we see that comes from the land of Nod. This is where Israel itself reverts back to. There is an original line of Seth with which the original covenant does take place. That's why there's this controversy in Zion, because Israel splits. And then we see a portion of Israel through the lineage of Enoch, Tubal Cain, which is founded from the descendancy of the sons of God, their descendants, the Nodites. This portion of Israel is pulled back to the connection to the occultic practices that are inspired by the agenda of Enki, the fallen prince of this world, to achieve his material identity in this world. So Israel is now pulled over, as we see Jacob is pulled over to the other side. Jacob begins to start receiving all this knowledge from the well. The well is the abyss. Who's bound in the abyss is Enki, Lord of the Abyss. And I tell you, man, there's much, much more to it. And it's not so cut and dry. It's really not. It's not so cut and dry, but I have to condense it and summarize it in such a way that you guys can unify the history into a tangible, linear field of vision, when in a lot of ways it's not, because there are many variable associations, many variable equations of cause and effects of the truth. Because once one portion of truth hits another portion of truth that might not have the entirety of the truth intact with it, there's a different repercussional effect that it has as it interacts with that truth half lie. And so we're going to have to drop a portion of the truth, which is only half, which would be the lie, and the only thing that would be left with the truth to join to the truth. But you guys don't realize that most of the truths that you think are out there are concrete truths, are only half truths, and they're built on a bed of lies. Wow, here comes a train. Anyway, be on guard. Watch the videos that are coming out. Watch the language. Watch the symbols that these people are trying to talk about. See what they're saying. See what they're saying. They want you to believe that the people within Christianity need to be destroyed. And when you realize that the history has been encoded, the pagan religions into it from Rome itself. No problem. No problem. Yeah, I really don't like trains. For one reason, I feel that because I know that the technology is out there to have this type of shipping go by silently, just floating on magnetic rails, and they deny that to us. Of course, they don't want you to have the technology so that they can keep you weak, so that you don't have any strength when they flip the switch. So if everything goes wireless without cords and electricity to plug into a wall, you're going to have power that they can't control. If you tap into the power, which is this energy known as the infinite spirit, that they call the Vril, that they think is non-personal, that we know as personal. We know as the comforter. We know as the comforter, like you know as the mother, as the comforter. And this spirit is highly personal, even intimately personal. And it's the same identity of the Father. It's the same identity of the Son. It's the same identity of the Mother. That supreme fullness of the identity of the Creator of all that is. If you think that God creates a female, but does not yet have a feminine portion of himself, then you're blind. Then you're blind. Okay? And then those are the types of Christians that they're going to want to make look like fools in the end times, and these are the people that aren't going to understand the fullness of what the Trinity is all about. And then there's, of course, the reflection of the Trinity that a good friend of mine had posted a video up, Live for Truth, had showed that they're trying to already flex this Trinity into some sort of evil contraption, in which it's not. And I want you to look to the single cell, which is Jesus Christ's creation, for the fullness of his manifestation of chemical, electrical, and biological. And I told you the higher reflection is the Father, the Son, and the Infinite Spirit. So nonetheless, the train's going by. I do think that it was an interesting talk. If I've kind of built up to something and didn't talk about it, I apologize. It's a lot for me to remember as I try to interconnect all this. All right, I want to talk to you guys real quick about this meteor in Russia. Believe it or not, this meteor in Russia, that you should know by now that Russia is not a part of this New World Order. Russia has got so many people, it's got so many resources, it's got so much land, it's got so much water, even fresh water. It's got gold, it's got diamonds, it's got oil, it's got gas, it's got food, it's got cattle, it's got people to work it. Guess what? Russia don't need no New World Order. Russia don't need no New World Order. China don't think it does either. China's got a big problem. They need land. So Russia's got what China wants, and China's got what Russia wants, and that's somebody who's trigger happy and that will go into this gunslinging battle with these New World Order bad boys and not flinch. And Russia is seeing China as that type of ally, because whenever you're about to go to war with something, when it's serious business, you want somebody that's going to go through and that has some serious battle history about them. And if you don't know that the Chinese know their warfare, then you don't know history. All this stuff adds up. So if you understand a little bit about Revelation, as it talks about Gog and Magog in this army, there's a spin on it. Trust me, there's a spin on it where they spin it another way. What it really comes down to is that Russia is not playing ball with the New World Order. They don't need it. They don't want to give up their resources. They know exactly what they're doing, and they know what they've been doing. Now, granted, there is a faction within Russia, within the subversive government of Russia, that is a part of the Illuminati, which is working to overthrow Russia from within. But I'm telling you, Russia's strong. They have not let it happen, and they have not gained the foothold in Russia like they did gain the foothold in the entirety of some of these other global nations, USA being one of them. But USA was built and designed for this purpose exclusively. So my point to tell you guys is that in this drawing that I drew once again over 20 years ago, you want to find out more about it, just I don't know. I got it on so many things. I'm gonna do another video about it, because there's more about this that I've learned thus far to get you interested right now. Here's what can prove me as a seer. All right. Not only does this drawing do it for me, but it can do it for you too. And everybody knows now that this Batman thing is super coded, and it all came down to that July shooting at that theater. All right. Where this guy went in and killed all those people, and it was all number coded, and this video came out on this rapper came out with this video, and it was just super freaking coded, and it takes place during the airing of the new Batman movie, which is coded all in itself about the destruction of New York City by some nuclear bomb. I haven't seen the movie, but I think that's what I remember. Somebody told me about it, and then here it is in my drawing. This drawing was uploaded, I think, about a year before that Batman shooting ever took place, and I actually predicted that there would be a sacrifice in July associated with the destruction of New York City, and lo and behold, it took place. And this drawing is over 20 years old, but YouTube went around then, and I didn't even know that this drawing was prophetic when I did it. As I've told you guys before, I was drawing for a child, and he just asked me to start drawing a couple things, and from there I turned the rest of the drawing into a vision of what I thought the end times would be like. I never realized that my vision would be true, and I'm thankful that it is, because it's all here. There's the second cup. Couldn't believe it. If you guys don't know, I'm the guy that's coined the phrase second cup. It's never been heard on YouTube before me. It's not in the Bible. There's no first cup. It's cups. It's cups. I'm the guy that's coined the phrase the second cup. It comes from me. It comes from my understanding. And I didn't understand that until maybe about 2 years ago. Well, somehow I understood it 20 years ago, and there's the cup falling. If you look up cup in Strong's Concordance, it's a drinking device. And the old-time drinking device was a long-handled ladle, and there's a second cup falling right beside the symbol for New York City. Gotham. Google it. Gotham is New York City. And we've got a connection to Gotha in Germany with the start of the Thule Society too. Gotha, and then we have Gotham associated with their agenda to bring about this dark prince. So, trust me guys, you can prove that I'm seeing this stuff before it happens. It's provable on YouTube. You can search the video out, 11/11/11, I'm a seer, come see what I see. And then you can check the dates, and then you can check the dates on July equals sacrifice and see that I said this stuff would happen before it happened. Even within days of it happening, and even all of the variables are in place, but it happened within a lesser reflection. I'm a seer. I'm not a prophet. I'm a seer, and I'm doing my best to translate to you guys what I see. I also gave the warning before the hurricane hit, before Hurricane Sandy hit at the end of October. I gave a warning at the end of September in my video, and it was entitled October Warning. And I actually deleted it because I said some things that were I felt a little more angry than I wanted to sound about Bill from Occult Science 101. And I really like the guy. I always have, even though dude gives me such a hard time, man. And I know why he does, and I know he believes in what he believes, and that's no problem. That's one of the reasons why I like the guy, because he's dedicated to what he believes in. I just want him to believe in brotherhood of all, not of secret societies or fraternities or races or national. Brotherhood of all, and that can be achieved without murdering a bunch of people. And I'm not trying to say that Bill wants a bunch of people murdered. All right, I ain't trying to say that. But what I'm trying to say is that I did upload a video in the end of September where I felt very strongly. There's even a few subscribers that can testify to that because they were asking me questions on how they should prepare. And I could start naming their names off, but I'm not going to put them on the spot. And guess what? In October, and I told you I felt this had something to do with New York City. I said it 30 days before the event took place. Believe it or not, I got proof. And I'm not trying to prove it. I'm not trying to sound like I'm trying to prove myself. I'm sorry here. Sorry about that. That's one of the things I fall victim to, is trying to prove myself sometimes, and I don't need to do it. I don't need to do it. But for those people who are honest in your search, I do have a video up that does, at the very ending, give that same warning that I gave about October, and you can see that it's before October at the end of September. It's there. All right, so there is validity. There's a whole bunch. There's probably 20 or 30 more, and then including everything that you see on this drawing that I have now timed with perfect biblical scripture. Ephraim being planted in a pleasant place, and I told you that was a moon. I didn't realize that is what my drawing said to the fullness until after I found that scripture and did months worth of video on it, and then I came back and looked at my drawing, and I realized there was Ephraim planted on the pleasant place. Now I got all the scripture that compares the moon to a dry and thirsty ground. Guess what? They've been trying to bring water to the moon because guess what? It's a dry and thirsty ground. I'm going to show you here in the next video that I'm about to do about Isaiah chapter 28 as it's timed with this Night of the Comet movie. This whole connection to where they're at with the moon. It's all going to come together. All right. I'm sorry, guys. Guess what? The USA, as we know, is the one that's sending this bomb, and they're sending it from the moon, and they're going to send it against their own country. Now, this coded symbolism here with these UFOs is all about this give unto her double, to where I've told you, and I need to do the fullness of the video because I have not explained it in full on video yet, but before these Danites show, before these AKA Pleiadian enlightened ones, they're going to send the fake ones. They all work together. These Pleiadian, aka Danites, have been genetically engineering these locust beings, these gray-looking locust beings with the large eyes for the entirety of the time. But you have to remember the description of the locusts. They got long hair, and they got faces like men. They're going to switch an identity of the locust to get you to think something insect-like, and that's what the gray connected with the reptilian beings that they're going to produce, which are right here in my drawing, these pterodactyls. As they're being birthed out of this upside down triangle which symbolizes the birth womb. It's going to symbolize Ishtar in the end of that movie. You're going to see her wearing that inverted triangle. Unbelievably. Unbelievably. Wait till I do that video. I'm about to do it right after this. I told you that this birthing of the New World Order is going to birth many things. The main two variables will be the New World Order itself, as you see I got right here, and the second one, the Dark Prince. The chief agenda is to do the Dark Prince. He's the one that truly brings the New World Order, which they perceive as the Golden Age. But as you see, look who comes first. Who's first out the gate? First, the reptile, gray, faked, locust-looking beings that they're going to want you to believe that these guys, now the Pleiadians, what do we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 just shooting up out of here. Shooting up out of this birth canal. Those are the Danites. Remember, they're connected to the Pleiades. The Pleiades is connected to the 7 stars, which is symbols for the Pleiades. And then here we have, once again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I never knew none of that when I did this, and you'll see it in the videos. You'll see it. I didn't know it. These are the Danites, the AKA locusts from the inner earth, as we described, those enlightened ones. And then they're going to come after, and then they're going to make you believe they're getting rid of these guys, when in reality, all of this is a part of a grand deception to distort your perceptual reality of what the truth is and who the good or the bad guys really are. In a mirror, the reflection is backwards, but you can reflect that backward reflection back into the truth of the real image of the identity to get the truth. That real image is the fullness of the reflection of God, the light of God upon this world, the projection of the light of God upon this world. And then they are trying to refract and distort this image, the fullness of this truth, into the image of Enki, just like you see the obelisk as it is cast against the water to reflect the image of this phallus coming up from the earth, once again on top of the waters. And you have to think about this. This is a water world. He's trying to come atop these waters. He's trying to come atop material creation, which is created as the chief substance, from the chief substance, H2O. All water evolved from the oceans on this world and eventually made its way to land. It's not cellular division, it's cellular multiplication. All right. I'm so sorry, I just can't stay on track. I want you to see here. Russia, I've already known it. They're not going to play ball. Russia comes here after the New World Order, and within the time frame of the New World Order that is truly being instilled with this being here, not the ones connected with what you see and think Obama's trying to do. And then, although Obama and them, they're going to make them look like they're going underground and that they're trying to take care of them. I'm telling you guys, there's a spin. There's a big spin on all this. Obama and them are working with them, but yet they're the pawns. Obama's just a pawn, man. He's just a pawn. He's expendable. He's being used. Russia is going to invade. They're going to invade the U.S. after the second cup takes place. And I want you to kind of see the tone of this. Why? Follow this little dotted line right here that's landing right on top of Russia. Follow this little dotted line. What do you see right there? You see a man standing on top of this symbol for the subversive USA government, who I'm trying to tell you, they want you to believe is Obama and all of them are connected with the gray aliens and all these evil aliens. Well, they are. But they're also connected to these guys here, too, that are on the moon. It's all the same thing. And they just want you to believe that they're trying to destroy the other bad guys, when in reality, they created the image of these bad guys so that they could easily destroy it to make themselves look like the savior. This person is pissing on Russia. Russia knows that this subversive government, this shadow government, has been pissing on them for a long time. I mean, it's so weird how all this stuff works out. And now you look at this comet that supposedly busted over Russia. I see that as a warning. They were warning Russia because they know Russia is not playing ball. Russia's not playing ball. They sent that as a message to them. And if you remember, some of these people started talking briefly on their channels, doing videos about it, that they were saying Russia believed that this to be some sort of high-tech weapon from the U.S. Did they not? Yes, they did. What am I showing in this drawing, man? What am I showing? I'm showing you that the seer sees. The seer sees and somehow knew. And I'm giving all glory to Jesus Christ, because I don't need none of the glory. All I need is some friendship. I need some love. I need some compassion, some camaraderie, some loyalty, and I can give all of that back. I can give every last drop of that back. I'm not somebody that is trying to take from you guys. I don't have my hand out with nothing in it. My hands are full, and they're extended towards you. I'm ready to give. But we got to have those that are able to receive. I hope that this didn't bore you, and I'm about to come back with a video about Night of the Comet. Thanks.